What if I told you that the whole spy movie trope of seeing through walls wasn't just a movie thing anymore? Today, we are going to look at some tech that makes that an actual reality.
So, let me just ask you straight up. Do you think it's really possible to know if someone's in the room right next to you, maybe even track their movements, without using a single camera or microphone? I mean, it sounds like something out of science fiction, right? But the answer is, believe it or not, a hard yes.
And the secret to this trick isn't some kind of crazy X-ray vision. Nope. It's something that is probably filling the room you're in right now. The good old Wi-Fi signal. We're about to see how these invisible waves can be turned into a kind of real-time radar.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty. How in the world do you go from a wireless internet connection to, seeing through a solid wall? Well, the magic is all in the science of something called channel state information.
So the main concept we're talking about here is channel state information, or CSI for short. Now, think about your Wi-Fi router for a second. It's not just shooting one little beam to your phone. It's literally flooding the entire space with radio waves. And those waves bounce off of everything: the walls, your desk, and you. CSI is basically the science of listening to all those echoes and analyzing how they get disrupted to build a live map of that space. It's how you can turn a simple internet signal into a ridiculously powerful sensor.
Okay, so here's how it actually plays out. First, imagine the Wi-Fi signals in a room creating this invisible, stable field. It's a predictable baseline. Now, when a person walks into that room, their body, which is mostly water, acts like a big, moving obstacle. You absorb some waves, you reflect others, and you create these tiny, unique disturbances in that field. These are called microperturbations. And finally, a specialized receiver that's built for this exact purpose can pick up on these incredibly small changes and translate them into actual data. It can tell that someone's there, that they're moving, and can even detect the tiny shift of a chest rising and falling as they breathe.
All right, so knowing the science is one thing, but you need a very specific piece of hardware to actually pull it off. And based on the source material, there's one device that's basically purpose-built for this, and a whole lot more. So let's talk about the SGP card ML.
Yeah, the documentation doesn't exactly mince words. It calls this thing the pinnacle of covert signals intelligence. So it's not being positioned as some hobbyist gadget, but as a serious professional-grade tool for analyzing and manipulating signals, all in a tiny package you can take anywhere. Now, looking at the hardware is where things get really interesting. You've got a powerful processor, AI acceleration, but check out the antenna system. It's not just a standard Wi-Fi antenna. It's a CSI-optimized phased antenna array. And that, right there, is the secret sauce. This piece of hardware is specifically engineered to be extra sensitive to those tiny microperturbations we were just talking about. That's what makes this particular device so darn good at this type of surveillance. But seeing through walls with Wi-Fi, that's just scratching the surface. This device is really framed as a complete intelligence multi-tool, kind of like a Swiss Army knife for hacking signals. Let's see how that one amazing feature fits into a much bigger picture. So for wireless, it can do all the classic Wi-Fi attacks, like kicking people off their networks or spinning up thousands of fake ones. And it can also play around with radio frequencies, which lets it do things like capture and clone the signals from your garage door opener or the key fob for a security gate. It also gets up close and personal. It can read and clone those NFC and RFID cards, the ones you use to get into office buildings, and bypass electronic locks. Plus, it has an infrared blaster, so it can hijack control of pretty much anything with an IR remote: TVs, projectors, even the office AC system. For getting into computers directly, it can pretend to be a keyboard, a bad USB, and just type commands at an insane speed. But maybe one of the coolest features for field use is its LoRa tech. It can create its own private encrypted communication network, completely off the grid, no cell service, no internet needed, with a range of over 15 kilometers. Okay, so it's obviously packed with features, but what really makes this device stand out from the crowd? The sources are pretty clear on why this thing is considered unique, especially for that Wi-Fi CSI stuff we started with. So here's the bottom line. What makes this the best tool for the job? First, the sources claim it's the world's first to have this kind of CSI surveillance built in as a standard feature. It's not some hacky add-on, it's a core function, all thanks to that special antenna. Then you pile on the other benefits: an AI that writes code for you, a solar panel so it basically never runs out of power,
and a control system that runs from any phone's web browser, leaving absolutely no trace. No apps, no footprint.
And all of this leads to a pretty heavy question. We spend our lives surrounded by these invisible signals. So when tech like this comes along, tech that can translate those signals to effectively see through the very walls we build for privacy, what does private space even mean anymore? That's definitely something to think about.